Hi, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have a few things to talk about today. Most importantly, the Washington Commanders got some really surprising Austin Ekeler news earlier today. Well, I'm recording this at 11:20 p.m. December 24th, Christmas Eve. By the time most of y'all see this, it will already be Christmas. But either way, we got to talk about that. Jaden Daniels trying to make us cry. And Washington is super in the holiday spirit. We're going to talk about what all of that means. But before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. I promise y'all the defensive half of my game review of the Eagles game, defense, special teams, and then my overall review from the entire game will be on the way. Hopefully I can get it done sometime in between Christmas breakfast and Christmas dinner tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that, or maybe it'll come out later tonight, tomorrow night after Christmas dinner, whatever. Just stay tuned for that. And of course I will be live streaming this upcoming game against them sorry little Falcons, the team I hate the most in the NFL, so make sure you pull up for that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's talk about the most important news today, and that is when Dan Quinn had his press conference, either before or after practice, doesn't really matter. He said that running back Austin Ekeler, who is currently on injured reserve because of a concussion, which is insane in itself. You're on the injured reserve because of a concussion, not even like week to week, but injured reserve. Like, that's insane. That sounds like, yeah, you're done with football, let alone just this season at all. But apparently Dan Quinn said that Austin Ekler is trending in the right way to possibly return next week against the Dallas Cowboys. And he said, quote, absolutely possible, unquote. This is again the last week that Austin Ekler is technically on his injured reserve stint. Like, you have to be on there for a minimum amount of weeks. He's now on to that final week of that. If we want to play him against the Cowboys, we actually can, if he's actually ready. Now, Dan Quinn did not offer any sort of timeline beyond just sounding very positive about his recovery and the fact that he could potentially play this week, but he didn't give any like definitive date. Absolutely. But as I've seen worded by certain reporters, they've said basically Austin Ekler can possibly be back for the regular season finale against the Cowboys. But should the second part of it is they should more than likely have him back in time for the playoffs. So maybe against the Cowboys season finale, but very likely for at least that first playoff game that we play. And again, I'm saying first playoff game because I'm going in with the confidence that we'll win and play another one. That's just me speaking it into existence. Now, hopefully we beat the Falcons and we're in a situation where we're sitting our starters going into that season finale against the Cowboys anyway. So then even if Austin Ekler could play, he wouldn't play because it's not even worth it. I mean, I want to already have that playoff seeding solidified to the point that like we go into that Cowboys game and even Jaden Daniels and the starters sit. So I would see no reason to rush Austin Ekler back in a game where we're sitting our starters anyway. So hopefully Austin Ekler shouldn't even be able to go out there even if he is healthy. That's my whole point here. But hey, man, that would be a huge boost to have him back for the playoffs, man. This Washington Commanders offense definitely misses him. First of all, even though Luke McCaffrey killed it this past Sunday against the Eagles with some of that kick return stuff that he was doing, especially I think it was the first one that he actually got the chance to return, but he couldn't return the first one because it was like a flag on the Eagles, like illegal, like he didn't kick it into the zone or whatever. So by the time that Luke McCaffrey, I believe it was his first actual return attempt against the Eagles, and he returned it all the way back to their side of the field, showing some great speed. He doesn't seem like a guy that has a lot of wiggle and agility, but he has some speed to him, man. But even with that, Austin Ekler is still our best kick returner on roster as it's currently constructed. Anybody that's on the practice squad, the 53-man roster, injured reserve, whoever, pull any name out of our entire roster that's available, Austin Ekler is the best guy we have right now. So that will be a huge field position swinging boost for us going into the playoffs and to raise the ceiling of our special teams and what impact they can have on games having Austin Ekler back. But most importantly, he's also a deadly weapon on offense for Jaden Daniels. I mean, think about it. One, he's one of the very few players on this team that consistently gets yards after the catch and yards after contact. He was taking the load off of Jaden Daniels' shoulders big time when he was healthy. I would honestly argue that Austin Ekeler is the best player on our roster at getting the ball from Jaden Daniels and getting a crazy amount of yards afterwards, rather than Jaden Daniels having to throw for those yards himself or pick up those yards with his own legs. I mean, Austin Ekeler had Jaden Daniels' stats looking even better than maybe you could argue they actually were. Like, and most quarterbacks, really all quarterbacks in the NFL benefit from this except for Jaden Daniels. You could argue Jaden Daniels has the worst yak receiving core in the NFL up until this Eagles game, where Olamide Zaccheaus and Terry McLaurin has had his moments throughout the season. But when it comes to yak yardage, Jaden Daniels probably has like the lowest percentage of yardage gained from his receivers once they caught the ball, and then what they did afterwards, then like the percentage that he actually threw for himself through the air. Just to let you know, I'm pretty sure he's probably bottom in the league as far as his receiving core around him making up a lot of his yards. But when Austin Ekeler was here, he was one of those guys that would add more yards and stats to Jaden Daniels' stat sheet that he didn't necessarily have to throw for. I mean, he would take a 5-yard catch and turn it into like a 30-yard gain. Austin Ekeler, you could argue, is like specifically the best at that on our team right now out of our entire roster. And then 2, speaking of shoulders being heavy and back hurting, this running back room misses Austin Ekeler big time. I still really like Brian Robinson. I mean, 2 fumbles and 6 carries is insane, but I gotta really remind y'all and like please remember that he had never fumbled this entire season up to that point. He just had a really bad game, but I don't think he's just a really bad player. There's a difference. Bad game, bad player, huge difference. I still like Brian Robinson, but he needs an explosive change of pace back to be his counterpart, to take the load off of his shoulders and wear defense is out. I mean, the Brian Robinson run you over type of running backs like a David Montgomery become more effective and dangerous as the game wears down, because defenses really just get tired of having to tackle you all game. But then the Austin Ekeler types, really like the Jahmyr Gibbs, staying with the Detroit Lions example, that really expedites the wearing down of the opposing defense by making them not only have to tackle the big, strong running back often, but have to chase around the explosive running back. So not only are they physically worn down and beat up as the game goes on from Brian Robinson, they're also super fatigued and tired from having to chase around Austin Ekeler all day. And I don't think that there's any coincidence that defenses have an easier time stopping our run game when they don't have to worry about an Austin Ekeler level and type of player in this Commanders offense. Not only does Austin Ekeler make this offense better just by simply being the playmaker that he is, but he also makes Brian Robinson better and more effective to use. When you have to worry about Austin Ekeler on the outsides and defenses have to game plan and worry about that in game, then Brian Robinson is able to run up the middle a little bit more. And again, with Austin Ekeler out the past few weeks, you've seen how much we struggle in the run game of offense. And then even just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, we are now missing nearly 400 yards rushing and nearly 400 yards receiving from our offense right now with Austin Ekeler out of the games. And that's a guy that's only really played like 9 or 10 healthy games for us so far this season. And even after missing a handful of games this season for us, he's still 5th in receiving yards for the Commanders this season, only behind Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, Noah Brown, and barely behind Olamide Zaccheaus. And he surpasses Olamide Zaccheaus when you change it from receiving yards in total to receiving yards per game. He's technically our 4th deadliest weapon in the receiving game for Jaden Daniels this season. So right now, Jaden Daniels is missing his 3rd and 4th best weapons during this late push for and through the playoffs, you know, with Noah Brown and Austin Ekeler out. So hopefully KJ Osborne can make his debut against the Falcons, and then he can start to get more comfortable in the offense. Jaden Daniels get more comfortable throwing the ball to him. They gain chemistry. Cliff Kingsbury gains a better understanding of how to utilize him and get the most out of him. Hopefully we can go and start playing against the Falcons, so by the time we get to the playoffs, he's ready to go. He's locked and loaded, and Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels are fully ready to utilize him in the offense. But at least hopefully he can make up for the loss of Noah Brown. But there is no Austin Ekeler replacement in sight currently on this roster. Noah Brown, yeah, hopefully KJ Osborne, you can replace him. Austin Ekeler, I don't really see. I like Michael Wiley. I like all of these Jeremy McNichols. I like some of these. And Chris Rodriguez is more the Brian Robinson type, so we're not going to count him. And even Kazmir Allen, Dan Quinn was saying that, hey, man, we were thinking about trying him at running back to bring some speed to the game, but then he ended up getting hurt, and he's on injury reserve right now, so we won't see that until this offseason, at least what it seems like. But We're just gonna have to probably find a guy to bring that to the team in the draft. We don't currently have that on roster right now with Austin Ekeler out. Now, when Austin Ekeler returns, we can have this debate about whether or not we should go ahead and keep him long term or whatever. But 2024 season wise, right now, Austin Ekeler is our only hope until we can get to the draft in 2025, in April of 2025. And now, also, don't forget, even though it's not looking likely that Noah Brown will be back this season, at least on the defensive side of the ball, John Com did say last week that Jonathan Allen is likely to make his return in this upcoming game against the Falcons since he got hurt against the Ravens in week 6? Was that week 6? I believe that was week 6 when he got hurt against the Ravens. Yep, week 6. So he's missed weeks 7 through 16, including the bye week 14. But maybe he'll be back for week 17. That could be a pretty big boost for our defense right there. We need his run stopping in whatever we're going to try to do game plan wise to stop Bijan Robinson and that running back core of the Atlanta Falcons, because they can hurt you. So just to let you know, potentially no Ekler nor Noah Brown against the Falcons, but maybe we get to get KJ Osborne for the first time ever and Jonathan Allen for the first time since week 6. So, you know, addition, subtraction right there just to keep you updated on what's going on. And Dan Quinn even talked about Jonathan Allen. He said, quote, earlier today, talking about Jonathan Allen's return, quote, "We're looking forward to it. When it does happen, it will definitely bring energy to our defense," unquote. And I feel like he's downplaying it because I'm telling you right now, X's and O's wise, schematically, Jonathan Allen has not been playing like his 2022 self for the past season and a half yet, but he's still a good run stopper. I love Johnny Newton, but he's more of a guy, he's more explosive. He gets in the backfield quickly. But if you need a guy to stand up an offensive lineman in 2-gap, and whether the running back chooses to go to the right side of Jonathan Allen or the left side or any defensive tackle, for example, and then you need that defensive tackle to get rid of the offensive lineman and make the running back wrong to where no matter which gap the running back chooses, he's always wrong because that defensive tackle can get rid of that offensive lineman to go make a play. Jonathan Allen is probably the best at that on this roster. Johnny Newton, I can see why like a lot of people like him more because he's more explosive. He can get in the backfield quicker, which means he can get after the quarterback better than Jonathan Allen can. But as far as just asking your defensive lineman to stand up offensive lineman and look for the running back and stop whatever hole he comes into, and that would allow the linebackers to play a little bit more free, you could argue Jonathan Allen would be the best for that we could possibly get, which means that even guys like Frankie Louvu, Jordan McGee, and Bobby Wagner could even put up better stats and have better games once you get Jonathan Allen back in there. I truly believe adding Jonathan Allen to the mix will help our run stopping effort way more potent and consistent. Now moving on to the second half of this video, we got to talk about this Christmas spirit that's going around the Commanders right now. Starting it off, Dan Quinn got every player in Stafford personalized burgundy and gold bats for Christmas, and it has their name and the Commanders logo on them. That is hard, man. And remember, Dan Quinn's message before the Eagles game was like, you want to be considered a heavy hitter, you got to be able to beat one of those heavy hitters. The Eagles were a heavy hitter. They're the first team with a positive record, the first team that even looks like they are even trying to go to the playoffs that we've technically beaten all season. Now that we finally beat that heavy hitter, he rewards the team with bats to kind of symbolize and represent that. I love that. And then even a player said in the locker room, quote, "We're heavy hitters now," unquote. So I love the message that Dan Quinn is sending to the team with that one. Like, hey, we with the big dogs now. Yeah, you were nice, 9-5. That's a good record, especially compared to being 4-13 like you were last year. But until you just got this Eagles win, no matter, I mean, all of the great stuff, Jaden Daniels breaking records, the offense breaking records, the defense improving and things like that. You traded for Marshawn Lattimore, he's finally playing. All of that type of stuff is great. But until we just beat the Philadelphia Eagles, we were not considered heavy hitters. Now you can put us in that category. Now we got to string together some good wins. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to go to the playoffs. We're trying to win some games in the playoffs, and that's what really counts. But at least this is a first monumental step, finally beating a team with a positive record in the NFL up to this point. Also, Dan Quinn said that one of the players even said at their Christmas party the other night, he said that it felt less like an office party and more like one with your friends. And Dan Quinn was very happy to hear that. And even as a fan, I know that doesn't necessarily like directly influence how much we win, but the brotherhood that we have in this locker room right now is absolutely insane. It's amazing what getting rid of Dan Snyder can do. Bring in Josh Harris, he brings in Adam Peters, he brings in Dan Quinn, and we put together this roster this quickly. And there's already just this brotherhood and this bond amongst each other. It's unparalleled to what I've seen from a Commanders locker room, a burgundy and gold locker room, Washington football team, Redskins, really probably my entire life that I've seen of burgundy and gold locker rooms, man. I mean, the fact that they felt like at an NFL team party, it was more so like hanging out with their friends than like being at the job. I feel like that's pretty significant. Again, it doesn't directly correlate with wins, but I think that's really cool. Also, Frankie Louvu, as you can see on the screen right now, got all of the linebackers a custom gift for Christmas. This is the one that Jordan McGee got. Shouts out to Frankie Louvu for also being in the Christmas spirit. First you had Dan Quinn, then you have Frankie Louvu with this one, and then you also have Jaden Daniels. He said that he got all of his offensive linemen electric scooters for Christmas, quote, so they don't have to walk around as much, unquote. And I'm not exactly sure what the message is there, but hey, shouts out to Jaden Daniels for joining in the Christmas spirit with Dan Quinn and Frankie Louvu for just showing some love to the offensive linemen. I love it when franchise quarterbacks, when really good quarterbacks show love to the offensive line and let them know, hey, I may be getting all of the shine. Everybody's talking about me on ESPN, on Fox, on all of these different places, CBS, all of these national media members, all of these experts are giving me all of the credit. Everybody's just saying Jaden Daniels. Nobody's saying anything about a specific offensive lineman or anything like that. So for the quarterback to go out of his way to thank them with any type of move like this, because he could just simply thank them out loud, and of course that would be great as well, but to go out of his way and show them his appreciation for those guys through the purchase of an item, trying to make sure they feel like they're the star of the show in any type of way. I really appreciate that, Jaden Daniels. Now moving on to why he was trying to make us cry, really how he was trying to make us cry. Well, Jaden Daniels was asked what he was most thankful for this Christmas. He said, quote, most thankful for the Washington Commanders organization drafting me, just making my dreams come reality. Here's the clip right here if you want to see it, man.
Hey, Jayden, and changing the topic just a little bit, since this is the Christmas season, what are you most thankful for this Christmas season?
Most thankful for the Washington Commanders organization drafting me. It's just making my dreams come reality, and obviously my new teammates and brotherhood that I gained over this year. And I'm thankful for the fans showing up each and every week.
And man, we are just as thankful for you as you are thankful for us, man. Really appreciate you, man. I know that's not like the most emotional video. I know he doesn't carry a lot of emotion in his voice, but it just kind of hits you when you're like, man, we finally have a franchise quarterback. And not only do we have a franchise quarterback, we have a quarterback that, first of all, he's elite as well. Already top 5 at worst top 6 quarterbacks in the NFL. That already makes me want to tear up. But then he actually loves us. It doesn't feel like, oh, this great quarterback is eventually going to leave for another team because we're dysfunctional. He's just here because he's under contract to be here. No, he's ecstatic to be here. He wakes up every morning happy to be a burgundy and gold Commanders quarterback, and that's absolutely amazing. He wakes up every morning happy that Washington drafted him like that. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that in my lifetime of being a burgundy and gold fan. So that's why, me personally, it does actually make me almost tear up, man, because shouts out to Jaden Daniels, man. And also, shouts out to Skate Abraham for pointing this out. Remember that nonsense of the rumors before the draft that Jaden didn't even want to play in Washington? And now this marriage is working out very well for all parties. Let's go. Shouts out to Jaden Daniels. I don't know what all of that mess was before the draft, but I believe him when he says that he's really happy to be with us, and it looks like it when he goes out there and plays on the field. He's smiling all of the time. He loves the players. Him and Bobby Wagner have this great relationship where they're always making fun of each other. Mike Sanford still. He has so many great relationships all over the place. I'm pretty sure he even has a lot more that we don't even get to see on camera. We just get little snippets of it. It's just beautiful. Again, just going back to the point that we have a brotherhood for this team right now. Also, shouts out to DC Rising because he brings up a good point. Another thing that Jaden Daniels said, we're going to get to what he says soon, but DC Rising brings up a good point by saying, I don't think Jaden Daniels has ever not said the right thing to the media. We're so lucky to have not only his talent, but his humbleness as well, his humility as well. You can tell he was raised right. And I completely agree, unquote, from DC Rising right there. So on top of the talent, on top of the fact that he loves being here, we love having him and everything, on top of that, he's also perfect for the media because DC Rosin said that due to Jaden Daniels talking about his relationship with Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. He said, quote, "Me and Mike are boys. I'm happy for him. You know, we waited his time. He's a phenomenal player in my eyes, and I'm excited to be able to match up against him," unquote. He always says all of the right things in front of the media, but I also love the fact that, like, behind the scenes, when you get like random footage that's not directly from like the Commanders media, you typically have Jaden Daniels show his actual real true personality, and I love that side of him as well. I feel like he's the perfect blend of media trained for talking in front of cameras and microphones, but then when he's actually being him, he's a very bright and great personality. Again, I remember one video he was making fun of Bobby Wagner, saying he doesn't know how to read, and just like little silly stuff like that, making fun of Mike Sainristil because he played for Michigan and things like that, all just kinds of silly stuff, and I love that. And then telling Jahan Dotson that Penn State sucked Jahan Dotson said like Jaden Daniels was telling him that like almost every day in off-season workouts before Jahan Dotson got traded. Like, just you get little sneak peeks into who Jaden Daniels actually really is behind the scenes, and I love that as well. And it's probably good that he doesn't necessarily show that to the media, because maybe some people may take it the wrong way, so I feel like it's perfect. Also, shouts out to John Com. He asked Jaden Daniels, "What's the biggest thing you learned from Bobby, and does he annoy you at times?" Jaden Daniels said, quote, and going back to his relationship with Bobby Wagner, quote, "Oh, 100%, he does annoy me. But I mean, just how to be a pro, how to take care of your body throughout a long season, how to approach the game, even watch a film. I mean, like little tendencies and stuff like that I try to pick up on throughout the season. How I watch film before week 1 and how I watch film now are completely different. I ask all of the veterans how they watch film and how they break down stuff. You see why he's been playing so long and why I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer," unquote. He said, and then John Com asked, "What's the most annoying thing about him?" unquote. Jaden Daniels said, quote, "Just him in general," unquote. And they've been talking trash forever. I remember when Bobby Wagner had some interview, I think it was with Kay Adams, the Up the Adams show, and she asked him, like, how do you feel about Jaden Daniels saying he's the Kevin Durant of basketball and football and things like that? And Bobby Wagner was like, he's sorry. Like, he's not as good as he thinks he is. That's just only him and his brain and stuff like that. So I love the back and forth trash talking that they have for each other, and even the fact that Jaden Daniels gave us a little slip of his personality in that press conference. But shouts out to John Com for getting it out of him, for asking him a fun question, and then Jaden Daniels in return gave you a fun answer, but also the professional answer backloaded in the majority of his response. So I like that. Also, moving on, Jaden Daniels and Colts running back Jonathan Taylor were named the NFL's FedEx Air and Ground Players of the Week for Week 16, voted on by the fans. Jaden Daniels is NFC, Jonathan Taylor is AFC. And I mean, it's very easy to assume that if you're the best player in the entire NFC, out of the entire NFL, not just rookies, but the entire NFL, they felt like for Week 16, I'm just going to assume he's going to be the Pepsi Rookie of the Week again. And just to let you know, he's been nominated for Rookie of the Week for his clutch comeback victory over the Eagles, where he had 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but still 5 touchdowns, and led the Commanders in rushing touchdowns. Just don't forget that part. And if Jaden Daniels wins this week, he will break the record for most Rookie of the Week award wins with 10 in an NFL season. And then we still have 2 more games to go. Absolutely insane. He's about to blow that record out the water. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, Dan Quinn also said about Jaden Daniels, but also Mike Sainristil, talking about both of them. He called them both, quote, forlorn leaders, unquote, and basically said that it's hard to do that as rookies. And you feel some of that stems from having strong veteran leaders around them. But basically he's saying Mike Sainristil and Jaden Daniels are basically wise beyond their years, and they're already stepping up to be big time leaders. Even, I mean, you just would never know that they were rookies from how they conduct themselves on and off the field. Love that, man. Shouts out to all of the compliments going around the team. You can tell these guys really love each other, from the coaches to the players to the front office. Remember after we beat the Saints, and then Adam Peters not only hugged Marshawn Lattimore, but picked him up off of his feet. I was like, man, Adam Peters, hey, man, we might need you at linebacker or something. Boy, we need him on the field. He made it look so easy too, but that's just your general manager hugging your cornerback that tightly. Like that, I mean, the love in this building right now, I think it's gonna bleed onto the field, and I think we're going to play for each other, and I think we're going to play very well because of that. Don't be surprised if we win a playoff game or two. Hey, man, we're one of those teams you don't want to play in the playoffs right now because no quarterback is hotter than Jaden Daniels, and if I'm a defense, I don't care what's going on. I don't want to play them. Remember, the Eagles had the #1 defense in the NFL, #1 overall, #1 against the pass, never allowed more than 2 passing touchdowns to any quarterback all season. And then not only did Jaden Daniels beat that by more than double with 5, again, the most the Eagles defense is allowed to a quarterback passing touchdowns wise is 2. Jaden Daniels gave them 5. We also scored the most points against them that they've allowed all season. I mean, it's just so many things that, like, what else can you throw at Jaden Daniels? If he can do that against the Eagles defense, what other defense in the NFL stands a chance against them? So I'm telling you, man, this guy's on fire. This team is on fire. They love each other. They play hard for each other. Let's get it. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you love everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of this, especially the Austin Ekeler part of this video. Are you just as excited as I am to potentially get him back as soon as the Cowboys season finale or even the playoffs? I mean, it sounds like we're more than likely going to get him for the playoffs. How do you feel about potentially getting Austin Ekeler and Jonathan Allen back and then potentially adding KJ Osborne to the offense as well? Do you feel like that's enough for us to go out there and potentially win a playoff game? Let me know how you feel about all of that. I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And if you made it this far in the video, I salute you. Really appreciate you. Make sure everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all of that, man. Enjoy time with your family. Even if you're by yourself, make sure you take some time to just enjoy yourself. Just take your mind off of work. All of that type of stuff, man. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. Just chill. And when in doubt, just go rewatch that Eagles Commanders game. It'll make you feel better no matter what's going on. So, hey, man, God bless everybody. I'm out.